booktube. Been by and large a very good day here at Hyde Cottage. It hasn't been raining. It hasn't been cold. Boston hit a glorious 80 degrees. And I had brawny teenagers over to help me do work, which was nice. So all of my books got shifted on their shelves. And I will now do the brainy part of that operation where I sort and collect and separate them out according to how I want to use them, including something I find very helpful, which is it's I don't know if I can show it to you. It's that shelf right there. You can see the top shelf. The May books are now completely full, where it was empty the last time I showed it to you, and it's now completely full of May books. And now something very helpful. Once I've pulled off all the books that I know that I need for other people, aside from Open Letters Monthly, then what I will do is sort them left to right in terms of publication date, so that I'm not reviewing something that comes out on the 23rd tomorrow, or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. I like to time it a little closer, and if I don't do that at the beginning of the month, if I don't separate them out and line them up by publication date, then I'm forever picking and sorting through them every day to figure out, oh, what was this again? Well, what was that again? No, better just start at the beginning and move from left to right. And the boys also did a bit of heavy lifting in my other room. I have two little rooms here. I have both of them full of books with a couch to recline on. And in the other room, you've sometimes seen me film there. In the other room, the bed, you wouldn't consider it a bed. No one in the world, no one in the Western world would consider it a bed now. It's a pre-World War II cast iron single bed of a type that I have seen young people, the boys themselves, I have seen their beds, and they're sprawling affairs. They're like the size of Rhode Island. I am accustomed to this little cot of a thing. And in order to make the most of the little room, I closed the room's closet. The room has a long, deep closet. I closed that off. I emptied it out of all the crap that was in there. I left some things in there without really thinking through what I was leaving in and what I wasn't. And then I closed the door, wedged it closed so it was even with the wall, and then put the bed in that space. Or my boys did, and just closed off the closet. Therefore, and found other places to store whatever I needed to store from that closet. And when they were cleaning and reorganizing the room today, in a sort of pre-penance, they always do this on Saturdays because they are going to drink like fishes tonight, and I'm not going to see them tomorrow. There's a string of parties on Boston's Fraternity Row that they very much want to attend, and I'm sorry, hit tonight. So their late morning was entirely consumed with weightlifting, and their afternoon, part of it anyway, was penance with me because they're going to waste their evening and all of tomorrow envying the dead. And when they had the mattress and the box spring up and all the cleaning was taking place, I thought, while we're doing this, why not open that closet door for the first time in a year and take out a couple of items that you've thought about the whole time, just haven't bothered because it's a huge amount of work. And so we did. And I took out not only I have a nice solid metal oscillating desk fan, in the odd chance that it gets hot here in Boston this summer. And I also have a 10-year-old, 11-year-old MacBook, an old white plastic MacBook that I put in there because it had a problem. It turns on, boots just fine. But then the screen comes up and you can navigate on it, you can type all around, it connects to Wi-Fi, all that sort of thing. But the minute it goes dim, the MacBooks have the screen is timed to go dim. Or the minute you close it, the minute that you close it and then want to reopen it, it stops. It goes dead. And the more I got to know, this just recently, I think I might have shown it. I think you might have seen it on a video. I just recently spent all of $150 to buy another 10-year-old MacBook. specifically to see, I had an extra $150. I wanted to see what I could do with it. I wanted to see how far such a thing could be reclaimed for the use that I would put it to. And I had a ball. And it turns out it can be reclaimed entirely with software updates and with workarounds and with various other things. I don't use my MacBooks for the latest high-tech video games. I don't use them for video conferencing. I don't use them for anything like that. I use them as word processors, basically glorified word processors with YouTube. And when I just recently bought that old 10-year-old MacBook, I had a blast playing around with it. I worked it up to 100%, and then I stripped out all the old junk on it, and then I updated the crap out of everything that was on it. As many updates as I could possibly find. Asked a whole bunch of forum questions to find out, workarounds and fixes, and got a perfectly functioning old machine. A thing that does literally everything that I ask of my MacBook Air and my MacBook Pro. And that process, the experience of doing that, really got me thinking about that old MacBook, the other old Mac. See, it's the same age, that in that closet. So I had the boys take it out, and it's charging right now. I know what's going to happen. These things are machines, so they don't change their minds. The same thing's going to happen. It's going to boot up, and it's going to turn on just fine, and the instant it gets a chance, it's going to shut off. But that strikes me as a fixable problem. I can't fix it. But I would be willing to bet I can find a shop here in Boston that will fix it. It strikes me as something that can be fixed. If the machine were fundamentally broken, it wouldn't turn on. It wouldn't connect to Wi-Fi. It wouldn't connect to the internet. It wouldn't do all of those things. Now, there's something else involved. And I'm going to figure out what it is. And then I will have, count with me here, 4 MacBooks. Oh my. There's quite a lot for someone who just a minute ago said he has no need of a MacBook. But I don't like having stuff that's just sitting around doing nothing. That's why I divorced Deb. However, you're probably wondering by this point what all these pointless natterings are for. The video is 7 minutes long. That's the full length of one of your ordinary BookTube videos. And I haven't even started yet. But in addition to all of the fun stuff, because there was that, and there was joking and playing around with the boys, and there was also my little old senior citizens are having a fine day, which is very rare. I'm always very grateful for it. But in addition to all of those good things, there was a bad thing. And that's what this video is about. The mail. I got 1 package in the mail. Now, Saturdays are bad, and I know that. UPS very often doesn't deliver at all. FedEx doesn't deliver at all. And the mail, I get the distinct impression sometimes that the mail truck driver, simply doesn't want to be bothered on the weekend. Just doesn't want to do it. So I get what the mail carrier can bring, but the truck almost never visits. They just let it accumulate, especially something like me, where they know I get lots and lots of packages. They'll just let it accumulate until Monday. So I got 1 package. I thought we'd open it together. And to sort of soften the blow, I thought what I would do, if it's applicable, would be to walk you through not just my initial thoughts about the book as, a reader encountering it, which is what we do on these mail hauls, but also my initial thoughts about the book as a reviewer. We'll do just an extra layer of analyzing the book as we see it. So let's see what it is. Might not bear that kind of scrutiny. But let's see what it is, and then we'll stop the video. So because a 20-minute long video about what I did today and how my knee's acting up, that's just a vision of the future. We don't want to get there yet. So, all right. So what have we got here? All right. So this is a finished copy from Yale. It's due in late May, and it's called All Measures Short of War. It's by Thomas Wright. Subtitle is The Contest for the 21st Century and the Future of American Power. Very, very drab cover. And Thomas Wright is a fellow and the director of the Project on International Order and Strategy at the Brookings Institution. Okay, no idea what that means. I always think when I read an author blurb like that, what is it? What was it again? A fellow and the director of the Project on International Order and Strategy at the Brookings Institute. Whenever I see something like that, I always think of that classic moment from the old sitcom That '70s Show. The classic pitch perfect moment when Kelso goes to his father's workplace and asks his father what he does for a living. I wish that the doobly-doo down below in the video allowed me to link a video. I don't know if it does or not, but oh my. I will try, because it's got to be on YouTube, and it is an absolute classic of sitcom comedy, because his father, of course, can't explain what he does for a living. And I don't think Thomas Wright can either. But let's see what we have here. So anyway, 2 decades after the Cold War, the 2 decades after the Cold War were marked by unprecedented cooperation among the major powers as the world converged on a model of liberal international order. But now, great power competition is back, and the liberal order is in jeopardy. Russia and China are increasingly authoritarian and assertive in their regions. The Middle East appears to be unraveling. President Trump has proclaimed an American-first policy. What will great power competition look like in the decades ahead? Will the liberal world order survive? What impact will geopolitics have on globalization? And what strategy should the United States pursue in order to succeed in an increasingly competitive world? In all measures short of war, Thomas Wright predicts that in this new era, major powers will compete fiercely, even as they try to avoid war with each other. This renewed competition will take place at a time of unprecedented interdependence and will bring with it unprecedented challenges. Wright outlines a new American strategy, responsible competition is what he calls it, to navigate these challenges and strengthen the liberal order. Okay, and this has advanced praise from Francis Fukuyama, former Secretary of State Strobe Talbot, and a bunch of other think tank people. It's made the rounds on think tanks. Okay, all right. So so first of all, definitely a subject of interest to Steve, and I did not get an advance copy as far as I remember of this. If I did, I didn't read it. So I'm encountering this for the first time. So it's definitely a subject of interest to Steve, and just hearing that description gives me tons and tons of initial reactions before I even start reading. So then the next thing is we go to the back. I think I've told you before on this channel that my friends, when I used to have a post office box, and I would bring people, not just teenagers, but everybody. I would drag everybody on my errands and go to that post office box to collect books. I'm so glad I don't do that anymore. I don't at all hark back to the days when I had to lug, 20 finished copies across the city. Although today would have been easy, but some days weren't, and I didn't always have be suburban back then. But people always used to joke when I would open books there with them that when I get a book like this, I turn right to the back instead of the front. But I do. I want to know what kinds of sources the author has consulted. So you go to the notes and look at those. And it's lots and lots of recent books, and also very encouraging, lots and lots of websites. Lots of deep research websites. Good, excellent, and also long periodical work in places like Fortune and Foreign Policy. So that's great. That tells me 2 things, mainly. One, the author is not armchair bloviating, despite the fact that he's affiliated with a think tank. He's actually gone out and sought the recent thinking on his subject. That's one thing. And 2, he's not a snob. He's willing to look at the original thinking done in periodicals and also the original thinking done on websites. So this might be a fairly nimble study. And I'll be interested to see if the doctrine of responsible competition will be believably carried forward throughout the book. I can see a potential problem with it right away, which is that it only works as a doctrine if the major players are responsible. And in the world today, 3 major players on the international stage, 3 players who could easily upset the kind of liberal order that he's talking about, are manifestly, regardless of what you think of politics, they are manifestly not responsible. There's the dictator of Russia, who has plans that he's perfectly willing to upset the liberal order of the world in order to pursue. He has revanchist, expansionist, authoritarian plans that he is going to pursue, and that's all there is to it. So to a limited extent, he's not responsible in the way that this author is talking about. And of course, the dictator of North Korea is not only not responsible, he's not sane. He kills ministers for falling asleep at meetings. He doesn't just execute his own family members. He executes them by strapping them in front of a wide opening and blasting them to rip to requisite atoms with anti-tank equipment. And by all accounts, laughing and clapping while he watches it happen. He's, in other words, a total psychopath. And he controls one of the largest armies and one of the largest nuclear armaments in the world. And then there's the President of the United States, who is also not a responsible actor and also, I think, demonstrably not sane. And is in control of the largest military in the world and the largest, the most influential economy in the world. It's a pretty bleak state when you're looking to the president of China to be the stabilizing adult in the room, and yet that's the world we're in right now. And one glance at the news in the last week alone is enough to bring almost all the underpinning assumptions of this book into serious question. I don't think there's any doubt that the ruler of North Korea and the ruler of America are both unhinged. And they're both deeply enamored of the idea of the romance of warfare. That's a catastrophe waiting to happen. That's exactly how the First World War started. Not because of the armaments and the tension, but because of the mind frames. So, see, I'm already arguing with the author, and that's great. But in terms of assessing it for review, it's a finished copy with a late May publication date. So there's no possibility that I can review it anywhere except Open Letters. So that sort of limits our calculations right away. That I will certainly do it. I will certainly review it at the end of May for Open Letters Weekly. But the idea that the sifting of the variables that I had in mind for this one book that I got today is immediately precluded. Had this been an advance copy for September or October, then there'd be a lot of other variables in play. Right now there aren't. So I will happily give this book a thorough trot around the park in a few weeks. But that'll be that. So there you go. Sorry, that was a little bit anticlimactic, but still, All Measures Short of War is our one book for today. How pathetic is that? Oh, God. But I have a nice, clean room. Sorry, book two. I'll see you soon.